A few months ago, I flew to Kyrgyzstan alone with practically no plans, but with one goal: to push past the limits of my comfort zone in order to have an adventure that I would never forget. Now, during this trip, I did something that made me go viral, not once, not twice, but like 10 times, and that was going horse trekking to Song Kul Lake. But it wasn't just any horse trek, it was me alone with a local horseman for 4 days with no signal, no Wi-Fi, and no clue what the journey would entail. And let's not forget, I can't speak Kyrgyz or Russian, and this guy couldn't speak English. And I did not know this at the time of booking, by the way. So when I say this was out of my comfort zone, that would be a complete understatement. But wasn't that the goal? Now, I've been holding on to this footage for over 6 months, going back and forth about how I should make this video. Should it be funny? Should it be cinematic? What music? What visuals? What narration? And the self-made pressure ended up getting so high that I just didn't make a video at all. And now it's December and I'm sat in Beijing airport on a 6-hour layover, and I've sat down to tell you the story in the way that I feel most comfortable, which is just a good old chit chat. And if this gets no views, that's okay. I'm sorry if this wasn't the fancy production you were looking for, but if you want to hear a good story and maybe get inspired for your next adventure, then stick around. And if you don't know me already, hi, I'm Dominique, I'm 24, and you might know me from some of my crazy adventures around the world. But if you haven't seen me yet, I think this is quite literally the perfect introduction. Let's get into it. So this journey starts in the capital of Kyrgyzstan, which is Bishkek. No, taking it back now. Oh my god. And from there I had to get a marshrutka, which is basically like a shared public taxi all the way to a place called Kizart. Got dropped on the side of the road and then had to take the long walk into the village. This place is actually really peaceful, really nice. This is what I've been wanting because Bishkek was too much for me. The heat was too much, it was too crowded, the pollution was too much. But this is gorgeous. It's reminding me a bit of the UK with the fields with the yellow. Now, I wasn't expecting a thriving city, but Kizart was so quiet. It really was just a rural village. There was no music on, there was basically no cars, it was just people going around on horses and loads of livestock. I got to the start point of the trek, which is a guest house. They invited me in and basically I had to sit there and wait for the horseman. The room was decorated so interestingly. There was these weird pillows that looked halfway between like a penguin and a tortoise. And then 2 hours late, my horseman finally arrived. Okay, so the guy was over 2 hours late, but he's here and here are the horses. I'm super nervous. This guy has zero English, not even hello or anything. We're just leaving the village of Kizart now, and these dogs are following us the whole way. But this is my horse. Name reveal to come. Is this because I've temporarily forgotten the name? Yes. When we first set off, I was in the highest spirits. I was like, oh my god, this is so out there. I can't believe I'm doing this. I was so nervous, but it felt so like cool. So we were riding out and then the heavens opened up and it started raining. I brought a rain jacket, but it was just a thin rain jacket with no warmth. And oh my gosh, this rain was like freezing cold. Almas, the horseman, gave me his long coat, which was so kind of him. I tried to refuse it and he literally didn't let me. He put it on me and zipped me up and tucked me in and made sure I was all warm, which was just so sweet. And that was just the first sign that I knew I was in safe hands. Traveling somewhere with a stranger where you don't speak a language in common, in the middle of nowhere with literally no one there to help me if something went wrong, that's really scary. But as soon as I met him and felt his vibe, I knew there was nothing to be afraid of. And then once he did this, like covering me up and keeping me warm, I knew that I was going to be okay. So at this point, it's pouring with rain and we have about 3 more hours to go. Bearing in mind, I'm raw dogging this with no music because I have one power bank to last me 4 days. So this was a very like silent adventure until Alma starts singing some Kyrgyz song. I obviously didn't know what it was about. I don't know what this song was, but it was a bop, and little did I know that this would be the song of the trip. He's using my phone because he's got no signal. Making hella calls. Eventually we ran into some people, which was like the most interesting thing that had happened all day. They gave us both a piece of bread, which was really nice. I don't know what they said to each other, but we kept going. And then I saw some yurts in the distance and I really got my hopes up because I was like, oh my God, this is where we're staying tonight. Like, yay, we're finally here. And it wasn't. It was just Almus's friend's house. And he went there and said to me, oh, you can just carry on. So I carried on in the rain and then he caught up with me. So yeah, to properly introduce him, Almus is my horse guide. He's a local guy from Kizart. He knows everything you need to know about horses and speaks no English, which is fine. I can't expect someone to speak English, especially if he's technically not a tour guide. He was just a horseman and we were having to make a friendship completely silently. He tried to tell me he was like 26, but clearly I think he was in his 50s at least. Sorry, Almus, if that's not true. Guys, I think I went through every single emotion this day because I was laughing at his singing and then I was like, oh, look at the cute dogs, look at the mountains, look at the cows and the calves. And then I wanted to cry because I was literally developing a cold by the second. Like, my nose was getting more and more blocked every single second that I was there, and I was just so cold. My hands were freezing. I didn't have any gloves. It was really, really depressing, and honestly I was regretting my decision to do the trek in the first place. But then in the far distance I finally saw some more yurts and I pointed them and I was like, are they our yurts? And he was like, yes. And I was like, yes, oh my God. So we made it to the yurts and this little lady rolled up the door for me and I went in and I was like, oh, hello everyone. There was 3 people in there already. There was a man and 2 women and there was 2 spare beds, so I went to the one at the back, which in hindsight was a bad decision because it was actually the furthest from the fire. Welcome to my yurt. I got here in the pouring rain and I'm finally just warmed up by the fire by lying on the floor here and reading my book. I have a cold. So annoying. I was in perfect health and now I have a cold. But my socks are hanging up to dry, my trousers, my coat, my sweater, and there's 3 other people here. There's a man and his wife and daughter. No one's there, and then that's my bed. And I'm gonna go for a nap before dinner because I need to go into recovery mode because when I'm awake, I'm just blowing my nose and it's not a fun experience. So yeah, at that point I fell asleep for what felt like hours, and then the girl shook me awake when it was time for dinner, and I remember waking up and not knowing where I was whatsoever. I was like, where am I? Like, what? And then I went in and we had dinner together. It was me and a German family and some boys that had driven here all the way from Germany, which was blowing my mind because they were so young. I think they were like 19 and 20, which is just wow. And I thought I was doing crazy things. The dinner was unknown meat with noodles and broth. I was just happy to have a hot meal, and little did I know this would be the best meal of the whole entire 4 days, and I wish I'd savoured it a bit more. After dinner I went for a wee in the outside dunny and then put on every single layer I had to go to bed. I was wearing 2 hats and gloves and literally like a hoodie and thermal layers. It was still freezing and I was just praying that I recovered from my cold overnight because I just didn't want to be ill. Then the next morning we woke up bright and early. I slept like a baby, like wow. It was so warm, I thought I'd be freezing cold. I've actually bought so much thermal stuff and not enough waterproof stuff. Like, my jacket's quite old and I'm realising that it's not as waterproof as I thought, so that's not good, but hey. Almas is packing up the bag and we're leaving the yurt. The views are insane. And all the horses are over here, just chilling. Now, I'm quite a picky eater as it is, only when it comes to things like meat and dairy. Like, animal produce just really isn't for me. So I get super nervous in countries like Kyrgyzstan where the whole diet is just based off the livestock that they have. So I got to the breakfast table and I looked down and boom, why is it a full to the brim bowl of milk with boiled egg inside? I don't even like boiled eggs and I hate milk, so this was literally the worst breakfast that anyone could have ever given me. But at the same time, I just had to be grateful because this lovely family has made this meal for me. Everybody else is enjoying it. I'm not the type of person to complain when it's clearly just a me thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is my taste buds, this is my problem. The rest of the people at the table loved it and they ate the whole thing, so it's just a me thing. Guys, the breakfast, it's not even the quality of food. The food was great, everybody else ate the food, but for me it was like a bowl of milk porridge. But the milk, oh God, it had a skin on it. It was so thick, it stank of like milk. Like, I know obviously, but it really was given milk. And then there was like this much porridge or whatever it was. It wasn't porridge, it wasn't oats, it was like some sort of grain in the bottom of the bowl, like a hard-boiled egg chopped in half on top. It was not the vibe for me because I don't like boiled eggs or milk or porridge, so it was just not for me. And then I just had bread, and then I took the yolk out of one of the eggs and rolled it in the bread and ate that, and then that was it. So I'm a little bit hungry, but I'll be okay. We had like an hour before we left, so I went outside and looked at the views and they were gorgeous. But also one thing that I've noticed in Kyrgyzstan is that instead of putting the horses in stables, they actually just tie their front two legs together so that they can't go too far. Like they just hop basically. And that's so different to the UK and like America, for example, where we're used to putting horses in stables. But it was completely common in Kyrgyzstan. And I have to try not to judge the way that different countries keep their animals, because that's the way they've been doing it for decades. And who am I to judge? Animal welfare is such a tricky one to judge cross continents and between different cultures. But yeah, just want to know. So we actually all set off together because there's only one way to get to the lake. And I made friends with the girl that was in my yurt that night. Her name was Gina, and she's like a photographer and an absolute badass. And she was a similar age to me, which was so nice. We went up and up and up into the clouds, and at some point Alma stopped and picked all the women flowers, which was so cute and thoughtful, which again just proves he's a lovely guy. After that we had a little break and I completely pimped out my horse. I put flowers all in its hair. I even put matching flowers in my hair. And there's the finished result. Do you feel bonita? He feels bonita for sure. He's so cute. And then I had a little nature wee before we got back on the road. The fog is beginning to clear, so you can see the lake, just this blue strip, but it's very misty on this side. At this point we were really close to the lake, and Almas let me and Gina go ahead at our own pace. And honestly, thinking back to it, this is such a core memory and such an amazing girlhood moment. We galloped ahead and we made it to Song Kul Lake. Once we got to the yurt camp, I met this really nice Canadian girl, and me and the German boys and her went to the lake to go and swim in it. Now this is a freezing lake. I don't know how high we are, I'll put it on the screen, but this is a high altitude lake. I am dramatic, that's just the way I am, so ignore the screaming. But yeah, this was such a fun memory.
Team Canada! Germany! Don't you feel accomplished?
Yes, I do. I'm so proud of myself. Once we dried off and warmed up, we went back to camp, where it was now time to build some more yurts, because actually there was too many of us to stay there that night. We did do it a bit wonky, but they didn't mind. They were just so kind about it. It was a shame though, because I just made these amazing friends. I was on a 4-day trek, they were doing a 3-day thing, so I was going to go a completely different way. And that's just one thing about traveling. You meet some really amazing people, but you say goodbye to really amazing people literally every single day. So the next morning I woke up and said goodbye to everyone. So I'm actually swapping guides today. Basically my guide Almas has to get back to the village. He got like a phone call. So now I have Azim. Good news is that Azim speaks really good English. Bad news is no more Almas, but it's okay. Also means I have to change horse because Almas takes his horses, but this one's going to be brown, I think, so that's cute. But yeah, obviously it doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm excited to ride a new horse. Hopefully it's as good to me as Bereke was. And yeah, I'm going back to just being me now, because lots of people do the 3-day trek, but I'm doing 4 days. So it's just going to be me and Azim. I don't know if we'll meet anybody else along the way, but I'm still excited. So that means I'm saying goodbye to his dogs, which are like my best friends this whole time. This one is super needy, and when you stop stroking it, it does all this. Okay. Hey. I don't get to see the dogs anymore, but look what happens when I stop stroking it. Without a doubt, day 3 was one of the best days of my life. The things I saw that day, like the animals, the horses galloping through the fields, the views, the lake, they've made images in my brain that will literally be there until the day I die. I'm not even going to talk over it. I'm just going to put some music and let you soak up what I experienced. Made it to the camp for the night, my final night on the horse trek, and this is what it looks like. This is the yurt for the night. My bed, Azim's bed. It's very spacious, even room for yoga. I'll have to have a nap after I eat. Just had lunch and now I'm having my little biscuit. Now you might be thinking, what is there to do for the next 6 hours until dinner? And the answer is absolutely nothing. The horses are chilling, lying flat out. Just went to the loo to pass the time. Now I'm eating a biscuit. I'm gonna read my book. Maybe sing a song for the next 6 hours. And then it'll be dinner and then it's bed. So they're putting the sides on now. It's coming together.
It's mean have a 12 months.
Okay, so it's like a calendar.
Yeah, like this is there have a 4
Yeah.
the space. That mean 4 seasons.
Okay. I literally fell asleep while they were building the yurt and I woke myself up because I was snoring. So I'm going for a walk to go and nap somewhere else because that's embarrassing. I'm taking my book and it is 3:30. Rainstorms, me away from the norm. Whoa. Just woke up from a 2-hour nap. Just here in the flower field. The sun's gone in, so I'm cold. 5:15. Dinner's usually at like 8. One thing that I wanted to like improve upon when coming to Kyrgyzstan and this whole trip is just slowing down and like being able to go about my day without my brain going at 100 miles an hour. Like on a normal day, I could be watching Netflix on my laptop while scrolling TikTok on my phone, but then getting distracted and every 5 minutes opening Instagram, and it's just like this crazy cycle of just flicking through apps. So disconnecting for the past 3 and a bit days has been like so nice. The only thing I can open my phone to do is take a picture or tell the time. And, you know, the world hasn't stopped without me. Obviously, I haven't been posting on my social media and I hope that's fine when I get back to my phone. I don't think anyone will even have noticed. And yeah, I don't know why I'm rambling, just chatting away about my feelings, I guess. I think I've been really stressed recently about next steps and stuff like that in my life. So I'm glad that that's on hold. My stress has paused. It hasn't gone away. It's just paused. But that's fine. I'll take it. I also feel like I need to cry. Okay. It's a super intense soccer tournament going on right now. So we just had a nice dinner. We had yak meat and potatoes, onions and spaghetti. There was so much food, I can't finish it. But so much food. Pause, just for context, at this point I'm literally talking out my arse. Like the food was an acquired taste and it was not to my liking, but that's again my problem. There's nothing wrong with the food and this is what everybody else ate and everybody else loved it. But oh my gosh, that was the hardest meal I've ever had to eat. And the reason I was saying I loved it so much is because my guide was right next to me and he speaks English and he was translating what I was saying to the family, so I didn't want to be impolite, and they had such good hospitality. This family literally accepted me in. They played football with me, they made sure I was comfortable, they played loads of music because they knew I loved to dance. They literally were the nicest family ever, so I was not going to insult their food because it was probably a really good meal. Like the guide really enjoyed it, so it must have been cooked well. It's just, again, something that I'm not used to, and I ate like 2 nibbles and then had to pretend I was full. There was like intestines getting passed around and random organs that I didn't even know. At one point they held up this like sheet of membrane and the whole thing was just boiled. It wasn't like seasoned or like grilled or whatever. It's just boiled. But you know what, like this was such an authentic experience because in all the other yurt camps they'd been like spiced and to fit like the Western palate, whereas this was just a family. Like I was just staying with the family and I was eating what the family were going to eat that day. So it was super authentic and something that I will never forget for many, many reasons. And actually my guide left to go to a different camp because he had some friends there, so it was just me and the family that got left there. And because they knew I loved to dance, they insisted on having a little party. So they opened all the doors of the car and then put the radio on, and then we just danced in front of the headlights for what felt like forever. And the the kids really didn't want to dance, but the dad was just like making them dance, and it was just really, really funny. And yeah, again, another core memory, and this is still like continuing on from just the best day ever. Apart from every now and then I'd do a little burp and it tasted of yak, and I was like, oh my god. But yeah, eventually it got late enough where we could go to sleep. I went in the yurt and they brought in some coal, which was really thoughtful, and that was day 3. I just have to say this for the record. Oh my god. Dinner. Nothing could have prepared me for what I saw when I walked in that tent. Intestine, stomach, liver, I don't know, tubes, and like one rib. There was no seasoning, just boiled. I don't know what that was. From my biology lessons and from dissecting animals in vet school, it was very much just the whole inner organs, but no lungs and no heart. Everything else was there, stomach, everything. They were passing me a plate that had maybe 400 to 500 grams of this random innards on it. I said, wait, oh, no. I was like, I'm not hungry, just a little bit, please, just a little bit. Passed it to me. I said, cow? He said, no. Sheep? No. Horse? No. And I was like, thank God it's not horse. Yak. It was a yak. Nothing could have prepared me for this. And what's crazy is lunch was so good. For lunch I had like rice with onions and peppers, tomatoes, cucumber. It was delicious. And then she brought out cakes for dessert. And then all the liquid that had drained off it, they were pouring it into cups and you were supposed to drink it. And I just went, guys, I was almost in tears. This man started chopping up this intestine. It was like a rubber tube. And he was trying to cut it and it was like, because it was so rubbery. And once he chopped it up, he put on a little plate and they passed it around. And I was like, it's okay, thank you. And this other guy said, you must. Oh, I never ate it. I see boiled potatoes, I grab 2 potatoes and I'm stalling. I'm like on these potatoes so I don't have to get to the meat. I finally found a bit that was resembling flesh, like meat. That's good. You know when Squidward tries the Krabby Patty for the first time and his mouth is like, or like a horse? That's what I was like. Bro, it was bad. I was trying to tell myself it's just like a cow, a fluffy cow. It was not giving burger. And I was saying, thank you. Because I had to be polite. And then they brought out spaghetti. I was like, oh, thank Jesus. She gave me a bit of plain spaghetti, but they'd also cooked it in that meat juice. She brought out this new dish which was past like the pasta noodles with the pieces of fat and chopped it up and mixed it in with the spaghetti and then poured the meat juice on it. And it's called a traditional dish called 5 fingers because their ancestors used to eat it with their hands, all 5 fingers. They're like, you have to try it. So I tried it. This thing in my mouth, I was just like, it was bad. After that I had 5 cups of tea with them and they were just talking. I said, how long does a yak last? And how do you catch it? I said, you shoot it? He said, no, we lasso it. Like, he didn't tell me he was actioning. They lasso it. And he said, 1 yak, 3 months. 3 months? I'm eating yak that's potentially 3 months old? Bro, if I survive tonight without shitting my pants, I'll be amazed. If I want to shit my pants, I have to walk out of the yurt in the dark, cross the river, and make it to the outhouse. What a day. But I survived. Can you believe? Guys, I ate it. I didn't refuse because it was so impolite to refuse. I actually ate it because they're such a nice family. They asked if I could stay another night because they liked me and the kids like me, and yeah, I had a great time. But Day 4, we woke up super early. Breakfast was actually good this day. I don't think I got a video of it, so I actually ate that and finally had something substantial. And then we set off and we're making the descent from up in the mountains back down to Kizart. This day was actually like harder on the body than going up, because going down you're like leant forward in the saddle, especially after like 4 days of riding, my ass was killing me. But me and Azim had a really good time. We spoke a lot about tourism and just like seeing black people in Kyrgyzstan. He told me he'd seen like 3 black people in 2 years, which is just crazy, and I was one of them. Me and Azim were really similar age. I think he was actually 23 and I was 23 at the time of filming. It was so weird to see what different lives we had. He had gone to university and studied, I think, tourism, and he could speak English, and now he's guiding tours, and then in the off season he does other stuff. Meanwhile, like, I dropped out of university and now I'm traveling and I'm coming to his country for tourism, and it just felt super crazy to see how different our lives were, how different our work ethics were, and how much mature he seemed in comparison to me. And he was just such a lovely guy. And eventually we could see Kizart in the distance. Oh my gosh, I'd never felt so relieved. These 4 days were probably the longest 4 days of my life. Like, no signal, no Wi-Fi, no music until the last day where I knew it was okay to let my phone die. And for like the first 2 days there was like no conversation because of the language barrier. So it was nice that it was finally over, but I did have the best time. But yeah, that's the story of the horse trek in Kyrgyzstan. It was such an adventure. It was probably one of the best things I've ever done and the most out of my comfort zone I've been. Maybe Mongolia was the most out of my comfort zone, I'm not sure. But if you ever have the chance to go to Kyrgyzstan, you should go. If you have the chance to trek to Song Kul Lake, definitely do it. I'd say 3 days is actually enough. 4 days was excessive, but I don't regret it at all. And if you're coming on my Kyrgyzstan group trip in August 2026, then now you've had a sneak peek of what you're in for. I will say this is nothing like our tour will be, because mine was just a really random experience. The actual tours with a group are a lot more curated. The food will be a lot better in like a foreigner's eyes. They cater to dietary requirements, so we won't be having to eat yak innards and things like that. And we'll be sharing accommodation together, and it's just going to be a lot more, curated than my experience, but still one that will be amazing. So yeah, that's the story. Hope you enjoyed this format. You probably didn't. It's probably going to be a really long video, but I just wanted to tell this story just for me to have the memory and all the footage together. Like, everything I post on this channel on YouTube, I feel like it's more for me, because short form is really my forte when it comes to what the audience like and it comes to editing. But this is defo just for my personal memories. So yeah, if you did like the video though, may as well subscribe. Why not? And click the like button, leave a comment, maybe your favourite bit, I don't know. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. I don't know when that will be. Completely unreliable over here. But yeah. Okay, now I've got a flight to catch.